totally out of breath now. Okay, so let's look at different ways that skirts are constructed. So I grabbed, let's see, I grabbed a pair of pants, but okay, so this first skirt, what is happening here? Okay, this first skirt has a waistband, right? We have this completely separate piece that we've cut out, and we could also see it on the inside, making sure I'm hitting both cameras. Okay, so the separate piece, right, we've cut out 2 of them, and it is going to get attached to our skirt as sort of this, you know, whole separate waistband piece. Okay, so this is one example. This is how my skirt is put together. I think the circle skirt is put together this way. Okay. Some of you, like BB, I think you have this one. So here is another pencil skirt, a black pencil skirt. And if we look at it, there is no sort of seam here, right? So there is no separate piece that creates the waistband. But if we look inside, I might have to adjust this camera. Oh, whatever, it won't deal with it now. If we look inside, we have this extra piece. This is called a facing, okay? And it's how, basically it's how we clean finish the edge of this skirt without a waistband, okay? So some of you, the pencils, the skirt with the darts in it, and like I said, I think BB, you have it. Who else had? Well, Gianna, is this the one you have since BB said she had your pattern? You've also cut out sort of this waistband piece, and it gets sewn to the inside of the skirt, again, to give it a clean finish on the outside of the skirt. Now, this other one is, I love this skirt. Okay. So here is another waistband. As you can see, it has elastic in it. So it is a little, sorry, getting notifications on my phone. I don't want them to interrupt my YouTube video. This one is going to be most similar to the circle skirt. It's a separate piece, all right, but it's one giant rectangle that's folded in half and then sewn to the edge of the skirt. Now this one happens to have elastic in it, but this can also be done without elastic and have a zipper close the garment shut, okay? So, whereas, let's see, this first skirt that has that sort of same waistband sewn to it, there's a seam here. You have to sew here. You have to sew these waistband pieces together. The difference in this one and that circle skirt is that this is folded. This edge is folded, and then both raw edges are sewn into the skirt here. So I hope that makes sense of just sort of pointing out the different waistbands that we see in our skirts. Let me just move all that over. So again, here is my skirt. It's gonna have the waistband. Okay, so I've already started to sew it together. Right, this is my, all right, where you see those seams, that's the front, and these two are the back. They are separate because that's where my zipper is gonna go. Now I have to make another one of those. It's 2 pieces that go together to make my waistband. So a lot of you should have kind of we were like left off at this part where we had sewn, fused in the interfacing. So these pieces have interfacing on them, whereas these pieces do not. So I am going to sew my waistband together at my side seams first. Okay, and then this is where, let me just tilt this down a little so you can see. Let me adjust this other camera. We are so cool, you guys. Okay. So I'm looking for notches. Very nice. This doesn't have them. That means I didn't cut them. Okay. No idea. But I do have notches here. Okay. So oh wait, maybe they're not supposed to have notches. Oh no, it does have notches. Don't mind me, guys. Just trying to figure out my pattern. I don't know where my pattern pieces are. I'm not gonna lie. I have a bad feeling they are in my office. Okay, so I'm just gonna transfer notches real quick. Okay, so like I said, you have your front waistband with some notches in them, right? And we have those back waistband pieces with those notches in them. And so I'm going to make sure you can see this. Okay, and I'm going to take, I can't separate these, okay? Face to face, which means the print or the right side of the fabric is together. Okay. I'm using my pins, make sure everything, move this over for a second. Okay. I'm lining up my notches. I'm lining up my edges where I'm going to start and where I'm going to finish. Okay. So I lined up those notches, right? Here it is right here. I lined up right here where I'm going to start, and I lined up right here where I'm going to finish, and I put a couple pins in it. I'm going to go ahead and do the same to the other side just so it's done. Okay. And now I'm going to sit down and sew. I feel bad that the other camera is shaking so bad. I wonder if I should set it up differently. Okay. All right, my machine's already threaded and ready to go. So there we go. It's very clunky, but it does the job. We don't run over our pins. And we put that back stitch to start and that back stitch to finish. Okay. So there's my seam. There's my, remember, forward 3, backwards 3, and then keep going. And when I get to the end, I go backwards 3 and forwards 3, and those lock this seam in. All right, so I'm going to do the same to the other side. Now, I don't own a pair of pinking shears. So remember when in class, where's my other waistband? Oh, here it is. Remember in class we had the scissors that cut the zigzag edges. I actually don't own a pair of those, and I don't expect you guys to either. So we're just going to press them open as is. If you don't own an iron, remember we can just sort of finger press them open. That helps hold it in place. I do happen to have an iron, so I'm going to press these real quick. Move my coffee so I don't spill it. Turn you guys sideways a little here. Hey, sweet setup. I'm sorry, is this a Zoom fail? Like, this is... Oh, guys, look at this. I've lost so much weight, not during the pandemic. Like at the beginning of the year when I was like going to the gym consistently and like I was eating really healthy and stuff, and I lost like 20 pounds, and now I'm afraid it's gonna all go to shit because you would think that if I'm home all day, like I would actually have more time to focus on myself, but I don't. Okay. No. If you never got to the, I totally swept out. If you never got to the interfacing part of it while we were in class, and you don't have interfacing at home, we just have to skip that step. You know what I mean? Like, we're working with what we got right now. What it does is the interfacing stabilizes your website and just makes it stiffer, because that's the part that really needs to sort of hold its shape and hold the skirt on. So if anything, you just may have like it'll wrinkle more, if that makes sense. The interfacing kind of stabilizes it. Okay, let's get back to here. Okay, so I have, for this particular skirt, right, my 2 waistbands. Now, if you have the one with the facing, so maybe Gianna, maybe BB, maybe somebody else, you probably had these pieces and you will sew them together, and then, like, that would be it. Your next step would be to attach it to the skirt. So let's kind of look at that real quick, and for anybody else that has this kind. So again, you're putting the right sides together. And let me just kind of pin this real quick. So I'm matching, mine's not going to fit because this is not how my skirt is sewn, but just bear with me. So I've matched the ends, and now I'm matching seams. If there's any notches along the way, like I have a notch right here and here, I would match those up. I would match seams. Okay, so this is what it would look like pinned to your skirt, your facing. It would be face to face. You would sew all along that opening, right? All along here, all along here. And then you would, when it's sewn, flip it back into the skirt, right? To get right? So the way this skirt, right, without the waistband but with the facing was constructed, is this facing was sewn. I'm sorry it's black and it's hard to see. And then it is flipped inside. Okay? All right, so if you have facing, that is how that's working. So the same steps to sew it all together. If you have a 2-piece, right, 2 pieces of a waistband like I do, or if you have that square that's folded together. So if you have that square that's folded together, you don't need to do any of this. But the next step is to sew this waistband together. How am I doing, you guys? Is this painful? It's like class, right? It's just like class. A little painful in class. So keep in mind when we, you know, they should match pretty good, okay? So if you can see, I've laid it right on top of one another, and I'm gonna pin it together. So just like I was before, we're matching reference points. So we're matching seams. I like to put 2 pins in my seams to keep them pushed open, okay? We're matching edges, right? I'm lining up those edges. So I've put pins in the seam and pins in the edge, and now I can pin in between that. Pin that in place. And I'm kind of smoothing that fabric out so those seams line up. Okay, so I've gotten that pinned. Now I'm going to move on to the next section. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and match up my seams. I don't have any notches in here in this one, which I'm surprised. Usually there's one in the center. But I am going to go back and pin in between those two seams that I lined up and pinned. I'm still thinking about this like interfacing question, and you know, things like interfacings and linings, they all have to do with the quality of the garment, right? Because it is sort of making that waistband, think like heavier duty. And so it's not gonna wrinkle or crinkle or fold down or flop around as much. So the quality of it is gonna look really nice. Now, if you don't have it because we're in the middle of a global pandemic and you can't access resources, I'm not going to penalize you for that. Okay, so I'm at the very end. I already had my seam pinned. I matched my seams on the end and pinned in place, and now I'm gonna pin in between. All right, so I have my whole waistband. The YouTube video is like cutting my head off completely, so I apologize, guys. It's just not the same screen. Okay. I actually also misplaced my instructions. I think they're at school. And so I'm just trying to think if I sew this whole thing together. I actually think I'm gonna sew, right, from the start over here, just the top half of my waistband. Now, if you don't have a machine and you're hand sewing this, you would do the same. You would hand sew from end to end, and I'll talk about that in another short little video. You know the hand sewing technique that we've been doing, that's what you're gonna have to use. Okay, so okay, back stitch. Don't want to run over my pins. I'm using a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And I'm guiding with my left hand. I know you guys can't really see, but if you look through the machine, I'm holding with my right hand, and my left hand is helping, because remember this waistband is arched, it's kind of curved. So my left hand is sort of guiding the waistband to turn ever so slightly as I'm sewing. I'm just going a little slower because I'm going over a seam, and I want to make sure that those seams stay open and one doesn't sort of fold over as I'm sewing. So I just kind of slow down a little, right? Okay, hitting that second seam, just gonna go a little slower. I'm sewing super fast just to get through this, but like by all means, there's no rush. much. Okay, so there is the top of my waistband, both cameras, completely sewn together, okay? Now, do you guys remember our seam grading, okay? This was a sample we did, and what this means is I'm gonna trim down this seam allowance to 1/4 of an inch, but while I do it, make sure you can see it, I'm going to angle my scissors, okay? What you can do, if you want, is you can take a ruler. Remember, I get caught up in, like, I've been doing this for so long I can eyeball everything, and I kind of get caught up in, you know, not everybody can. You can take your ruler and kind of, and a pencil, or your soluble marker, right? I don't know if you can see those pencil lines, and you can kind of mark, here's one right here, 1/4 of an inch. Make sure this camera can see it too. Oh, so silly. All right, and then that's what you would follow to do your seam grading. Okay, so again, my scissors are kind of at an angle, and I'm cutting at 1/4 of an inch. Now, if you have one of the skirts that has the facing, and you just sewed the facing to the skirt, right? So here's your facing, but this bottom piece is your skirt. You would also do this step. You would trim this down. This just makes that waistband less bulky. Okay, and cutting it at an angle, again, kind of eliminates some of that bulk. I'm getting a little too big here. Maybe I should have drawn lines. Okay, so again, my scissors are a little bit at an angle. Okay, all right, this is garbage. And as you can see, I cut that down to about 1/4 of an inch. So now I'm gonna sew my side seams. And what I'm gonna do to make just a really, hold on, I'm gonna think about this. Do I wanna top stitch it, or do I want to? Okay. I'm gonna fold this down, okay, right where I sewed it, both cameras, okay. I'm gonna pin this in place. Okay, and I'm gonna sew from top to bottom. So I'm actually sewing this folded down. The reason I'm doing this is not something you will see in your instructions, probably not something you'll see in any instructions. This is kind of like my sewing hack that I've sort of developed over the years, or I think somebody showed me, and I'll show you why in a second. So let me sew it real quick. It helps to turn, we have to turn this waistband right side out, and it helps to make a really nice, neat, turned finish. So I'm sewing at 5/8 of an inch. So those of you that have that sort of rectangular waistband that you're folding in half, this is sort of the first step you would start on. Instead of having a sewn seam here, this would be folded in half, and you would sew your edges shut. So as you can see, I sewed right, that with that flap down, I'm going to seam grade it. Okay, I don't want these big bulky seams. And now I'm going to flip it right side out. And in doing that, and sewing that down and flipping that out, I get a nice, neat, you can use, you know, the tip of your pencil or marker or something. I push the lead in to kind of push it in and really pop out that corner. But you see how we get that really nice, neat corner? Okay. I'm just kind of finger pressing my seams open. Okay. So I would do the same to the other side. Making sure, right, you want to sew both sides before you flip it over, because I just want to show you what it's going to look like. Because you want to make sure you're folding down the same side. Okay. So if I look at this, I want to make sure I'm folding down the same side. So let me go ahead and sew this one real quick. I'll cut it, I'll flip it out, and I'll show you what's next, because then everybody should be on this next step regardless of your waistband. How you guys doing? How's everybody doing out there? Woo! Guys, I have so much cabin fever. Like, we bought the Frozen DVD, Blu-ray DVD box set, like when it came out, you know, before all this. And our Blu-ray player wasn't working, so we've just been watching the DVD. And we had another Blu-ray player, but we couldn't find the remote. Well, we found the remote, and we were like, ooh, let's watch all the, like, the bonus features that were on the Blu-ray, but weren't on the DVD. Pausing my story to sew. Oops, that's not the pen. We were like, ooh, let's watch all the bonus features. And it was super cute. There was like a bunch of deleted scenes, and the directors were chatting. And I have 2 little girls, so we're obsessed with Frozen in this house. And they had all the songs to the movie with the lyrics, like karaoke style. And my girls did karaoke last night to Frozen for like an hour before bed, and then they woke up this morning wanting to do it again. It was super cute. So I don't remember why I was telling you this story. Why was I telling you this story? I don't know, because we were just doing karaoke in our house. Oh, cabin fever, yeah. And so we were doing this thing where the person had to pick the other person's song, and like you didn't know what song you were gonna get. It was pretty hilarious. It was pretty fun. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you, Madeline. I think it is an excellent film, first and second. You know, and I have 2 little girls, so like one is always Elsa and one is always Anna. And when we get toys, like one always gets the Anna toy and one always gets the Elsa toy. And it's just so stinking cute. Okay. So I have flipped my waistbands, right side out. Okay. We don't have that iron. We can come in here and sort of finger press these seams open. You went hiking and heard people singing the Forest song. It was creepy but cute. That's pretty funny. Okay, so I'm just sort of finger pressing this open. If you have an iron, you can press it open first, because pressing it open first actually helps fold it real nice and neat right on that seam. Okay? Okay, so I'm actually going to press for a second. Let me see if I can get my YouTube, you know what, I'm sorry, the YouTube camera is just going to be on the sewing machines while I'm ironing. I don't want to put my butt in your face again. Okay. really see what I'm doing, can you? All right, so I am pressing that seam open. I'll show you in a second here. I'm just trying to use the tip. Maybe I go on the other side. Would that be smarter? Ah, who's smart? Last week when I was trying to make you guys the masks, I was sewing. I was like ironing and sewing. Oh my God, the scariest thing happened. My youngest daughter ran up to me and her foot caught the cord of the iron and it ripped it off the iron, and it was like that. Oh my God, I'm like, my daughter's gonna burn her face or her foot or her body, or like it's just gonna hurt. It did not land on her, but it did land on the carpet and scorched the carpet. So now I have a giant iron print, like it looks just like this, on my carpet. So if you think you're bad at things, just know we all are. Okay, so I am pressing that seam open, and yeah, I'm getting a little bit of wrinkles here because it's curved, but pressing that open is going to help me fold that waistband open nice and neat. So if you're doing facing and you're sewing it to your skirt, you can do this. If you have that sort of rectangle waistband, you've been watching for 30 minutes and none of this matters to you. Not sure. You would, sorry. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. All right, so now that I press that open, I'm going to use this press cloth because I don't know how this suede is going to press under the iron. My cowhide is like a suede fabric. I don't want to like scorch it. And I want it to look like my carpet right now. So let me just press real quick and I'll show you what's going on. Sorry. I was like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I'm going to start doing all these videos and they're going to be edited together and it's going to be so cool. And I'm like, well, I don't have time to figure that out. What? I'm not made for this. Does anybody have a YouTube channel? Does anybody like take videos and edit them and do all that fun stuff? Are any of you guys cooler than me? Okay. Actually, let's put it back this way, and then we can get both cameras back in here. Okay. So see how nice and neat that sort of pressed and folded over? I didn't do the end. I'm going to do the end real quick. Hang on. Hang on. Who has this skirt? Max, I think you have this skirt. You have this style. I don't, it's 6578. It's this one. Ugh, I was better off just finishing ironing. I'm not. Okay. All right, so there's my waistband. It's sewn together. All right, can you see it all? It's pressed. Okay, there's the whole thing. All right. So now I'm gonna get my skirt. So even though I pressed this all shut, I'm only going to sew one layer. So I'm actually kind of opening it back up. And I'm going to pin it to my skirt. So the same way I pin the waistbands together to each other, I'm going to pin, am I too far away? I'm going to pin, oh, now you lose my head. How did we have this? It was working just fine, no? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna pin at the seams. I'm gonna pin I did something wrong. I did something wrong because the way this one is sewn together, I'm sorry. I should not have sewn these together. I should not have sewn this together. The way this skirt is made, sorry, I don't have my instructions on me. The way this one's made, the zipper goes all the way up through the waistband. So I'm just gonna rip it apart real quick.